listening to the Becoming More Me podcast with me, Theresa Lear Levine. You're already enough. But if you're anything like me, you thrive when you're stretching and developing yourself, creating more of the person you feel called to be. This podcast is here to inspire and support you. Let's release the negative, reinforce the positive, and elevate our vibe together as we tap into our limitless potential to transform and grow. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for joining me today. I am extra excited because I have an amazing guest joining me today for our episode, and her name is Jenna Reiss. And we met earlier this year through mutual participation in the Mindset Evolution Summit, which was a beautiful gathering of a bunch of experts discussing embracing change and taking action and just manifesting desired outcomes in our lives. In fact, if you want to enjoy a piece of that, go back and check out episode 2 of this podcast, which has excerpts taken directly from the summit. Now, it was a great afternoon, jam-packed with amazing interviews. And I just knew I wanted to come back to the conversation with Jenna here later because I resonated with her message and really enjoyed her teaching so much. So for those of you who don't know Jenna, she is a breathwork meditation healer, and she's the founder of Expanded Wild Hearts, which is an intensive healing experience moving through fears and returning to love. She helps people live more intentional lives and develop heightened awareness through breathwork, meditation, and intuitive healing with a focus on uncovering the wisdom and answers that reside within our bodies and hearts. Now, through her coaching, retreats, and online healing intensives, people gather from all over the world to act as mirrors for one another's healing and step into their most authentic selves through deeper love, connection, and authenticity. Now, for me and my audience, I find Jenna's work compelling because breathwork is such a valuable and complementary practice to EFT tapping, inner work, mindset coaching, or any other kind of self-care or therapy that you're currently using to improve various areas of your life and health. The practice or addition of breathwork and meditation can really deepen and accelerate our outcomes. So I know that kind of thing for, overwhelmed and overworked entrepreneurial moms that I speak to every day, it will be something that they really find value in, something that makes their efforts more efficient and more effective, right? So Jenna, I'm so grateful and excited that you're here today and on the show. Thank you for being here.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. So, you are a breathwork meditation healer, which is a whole bunch of awesome things all rolled into one. I love the title. And I think it's probably good if we just start with some basic definitions or principles, benefits, so that people maybe who have never experienced breathwork know what it's all about and how it can benefit them. Because I know a lot of people don't actually know how many cool things you can do with your breath.
Totally. Yeah. I think it's really interesting. You spend a lot of your teens and your 20s, exploring the self, and through all these different forms, through all these different ways, some of them healthy, some of them not, right? And you're just kind of you're trying to find out who you are and really understand what your place in this world is. And it's big questions.
Still doing it in my 40s.
Exactly. Exactly. And then those of us who get hooked on those questions continue on. And then I'd also say, and hopefully, as healthy adult, functioning adults, that we're asking these questions, even just consistently of ourselves, so that we can, whatever it means to thrive in the way that it works for us. And so when I connected with the breath, it really unlocked a lot of answers that I had been searching for. And one of the biggest answers was how to come home to myself, how to feel myself, how to be myself, no matter what the outside world brings.
Yeah.
And practicing breath work and connecting in with my own breath was really the answer to that. It truly blew my mind when I uncovered that we don't have to go so far outside of ourselves in order to really have that coming home. We think we need to go to the Bali mountaintop. We think we need to go on these big, grand explorations, which absolutely can uproot and help us unravel and unearth some big discoveries about the self. I was more interested in how can we in the everyday life really feel ourselves and come home to ourselves. So the breath work that I teach is the main technique that I love. There's many different forms, but the main technique that I love that I pull into my sessions is a 2-step pranayama breathing technique. And it's all aimed at moving energy through your body. You know, part of the reason we get stuck on that journey of coming home to ourselves, which, as we know, happens over and over again, is because old stories, limiting beliefs, those patterns, a lot of what you work with your clients on and with tapping is about creating rewiring, right? Within the body, within the brain, in order to allow for some of that new change to be creative. Breathwork is a different tool. It's using the breath to really open up the body, to allow that energy to move through you so that you can really identify and heal and move through what it is you're ready to move through.
Right.
So to me,
I think it's super empowering because it's something that you have control over too.
Yeah.
In a world where, no matter what, we have so little control over so many things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's always with you, right? Like just sort of like tapping. I remember, I felt that same way about tapping. Like you could be in a board meeting and tapping and tap under your desk and really start to help up yourself, recalibrate, and even just de-stress and reprogram something you've been working on. I feel the same way about your breath. Your breath is always with you. Like there's not that many modalities that you can just like instantly call upon and connect in with in order to allow yourself to create that shift you've been creating. So yeah, I think it really personally, my, everyone in my life likes to make fun of me. They're like, you think breathwork is the answer to everything? Like, yes, I do, because I've experienced and seen over and over again, the true impact that what it can do and open us up to. And there's just no other way I'd rather live.
So why do you feel like it's the answer for so many of our common problems?
A few reasons why. One, I'd say, is that it gets you out of your head and into your body. So it gets you answering questions differently than we're used to on a regular basis, or at least than most of us are used to on a regular basis. The answers that reside from the body and from your heart might align with the mind, but oftentimes are not. Oftentimes are on different pages. And to allow ourselves to see both are relevant, both are important. We need both, but to allow ourselves to connect in word for answers rather than come up with always the logic linear response, which is what we think it has to be. And what we're taught, really, it's not our faults. It's what we're taught. It is. So to allow ourselves to connect into the heart and the body's wisdom, to me, is where all answers reside, and if we don't know the answers, then the body's still gathering information to lead us towards those answers. And my belief is that the breath is the most direct source that I've found, the most direct modality that I've found to allow us to connect into that information gathering. And so that's really the ultimate answer to that. I mean, I'd also lend that into saying secondarily, it's because it's yours, right?
I love that.
Like, your breath is yours. You are your own healer. You can be your own change. You are in charge of you. And as scary as that can be, it also can be deeply empowering. I don't really personally like teachers that are interested in being worshipped, because I really would prefer to empower each other to tap into our own inner wisdom. And so I'd say the second main reason why the breath I see as the answer to everything is because it's yours. It empowers you to connect in with you.
That's awesome. I love that. And it definitely it brings you into that present moment, which we all know is the only place that we have any power anyway. So
totally.
That's awesome. That's one of the things I love about EFT. So I totally resonate with everything you're saying, because I feel very similar about it with the way that my practices work. So that's awesome. And what are your favorite ways to use your, gifts and talents with breathwork to help facilitate healing from those old patterns and those limiting beliefs and those things that you talked about?
Favorite ways.
Ways that you've seen it help people or transform. I mean, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah. Really, it's almost like, what I almost feel like, what can't it transform? Like, that's how powerful I've seen it be. It depends on wherever anybody lives within their belief systems, whether someone is really deeply spiritual or they're just connecting in with intuition, or they identify as a stoic, wherever you are on that spectrum, a different language is going to hit. I believe that this direct line back home to yourself, this direct journey back home to yourself that the breath helps you take, is because you're connecting into these deeper wisdoms, into a stronger energy power. And the universal energy power can be just the most incredible support system for us, especially when we tap into it. I believe it's really not about accidents. It's about synchronicities. So the best way, really one of the best ways I've seen it support people is when they tap into their own bodies, their own innate wisdom, when they are allowing themselves to go deep within themselves, they connect into that power. And it does and can require us getting out of our own way, right? So, whether it's somebody working on quitting smoking, or it's somebody working on quitting a bad pattern with a partner or with love, or it's somebody, healing abandonment and a story that they were taught from childhood, we can take a linear path through those experiences. And maybe that works. Most of the time, I find that when we lean into the breath to help support ourselves through those experiences, the breath helps expand you through that emotion. So what that means is you feel what you need to feel so that you can get back to yourself, because we get really bogged down. Like our standing in our way is to be bogged down with the anger, bogged down with defensiveness, with, whatever our coping mechanism is. Anger is mine, always was. So it's it's instant. I had an instant with it that happened the other week, and I went, oh, look at that. That was anger again. I didn't even see it. It came in a new cloak, right? And it doesn't feel good. You don't usually feel good when you go to those old patterns of the coping mechanism. But the best way that I've seen the breathwork supporting an individual on that journey home to themselves is when they can move through those emotions, and the bigness of our emotions can feel so heavy as they have over the last few years. Then it's like you connect into this greater power and energy with the world.
I always like that quote, you have to feel it to heal it.
Yeah. The best,
that's exactly what you seem to be speaking to. And I can definitely understand, but I catch myself all the time too, kind of in old patterns or whatever that kind of sneak up in a weird way. But I find it really helpful to pat myself on the back and realize how far I've come with the consciousness of even seeing it.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I think that can be a really big takeaway for people that are doing this kind of work, is to be able to just kind of like, I always feel like it's almost like if you were in like stadium seating and you're in like the nosebleed seats and you get to kind of like look down on everything and get a really clear picture, versus like being in the mosh pit on the floor, with like everything like happening all around you. And it might be like great, but it's like chaotic and like you have no clear picture of what's going on.
Yeah.
And so
that's a great visual, because it gives you this visual of you're not stepping outside of yourself. You're allowing the consciousness allows you to create the change. So to have the awareness and go like, oh yeah, self. Yeah, you did good there. Like that is really important. Great visual. I love that.
Yeah. And so much of that speaks to the self-compassion that we need and the self-love. And I know that you have a lot of belief in the self-love that breathwork can cultivate and everything else. So can you maybe speak into some of like the power of self-love, or ways that you've seen it evolve and strengthen with practices that you teach and do?
Oh my God. I love that question. No one's ever asked me that question. Yes. The power of self-love. Look,
feel free to tell a story or something too. If there's something that speaks to it, that's, a story, that's cool.
Okay. I'll give you a really recent one. This will be fun.
Awesome.
So I had I personally had an experience. This was not with a client. This was with me, where I was in the room. I was teaching a corporate client, a group of team leaders. And I said something, and I was pushing someone to go a little bit deeper, and they got triggered. They were upset. And their comment was, my response was, I understand you go where you feel comfortable. And I'm only pushing because I love you. And their response was, how do you love me? You don't even know me. And it broke my heart, because what I witnessed in that moment was this feeling of, no need to analyze this individual saying this comment. It was the true energy of the comment was, it was easy for me, that there was no question for me to be able to say this notion of, I love you. I'm doing this because I love you. I know this because I love humanity. I believe in humanity. I believe in us and our ability to support each other and be there for each other. So it is easy for me to say, I love you and I know that's not everyone's experience with love, but the reason that hit my heart so much was because in that moment, it was my job as the teacher and in the space, as the space holder for this container, to love myself so deeply that it was okay for that person's comment to be as it was, that it was okay for them to be in pain, with that comment and being pissed at me with that comment or whatever their response was. And it was okay because no one could take my self-love power away.
Right.
Right.
It wasn't about you anyway.
It wasn't about me. And so within that moment, what I think ends up happening within our world, though, are these moments happen where our triggers hit each other's triggers. And as the triggers hit each other's triggers, right, you could spiral. We do spiral down different experiences. But in that moment, because of all the work that I had done on myself, because of the teaching that I had had, and the years I'd spent studying the breath and this practice and love and the energy and vibration of love and true, pure love, it was easy for me to cultivate that and connect in with that within my heart. It was already there, right? No one can take my self-love power away. I'm so sorry you feel that way. I understand. Right. And my answer is, I love humanity. And then we move on. So why do I say that story there is because when you talk about the power of self-love, it's everywhere. It shows up everywhere. It shows up as the teacher in the room. It shows up as the student in the room. It shows up in our partnerships and our familial relationships. Anytime those triggers are being triggered and activated, it's not to say that the other person or the activator has, not doing anything wrong. Like they might have done something wrong and something painful to us. But when we have a basis of that power, of that energy of self-love, and we can truly hold it in our hearts, we don't feel the need to jump so quickly to defense, to anger, to X, Y, or Z. And I believe that vibration comes by and through completely and wholeheartedly supporting myself on my healing journey all the way through. So when I watch clients go through the exact same journey, different words, different stories, it's about allowing the breath to help you move through the pain of whatever it is that you're feeling, that maybe the anger, the defensiveness. Like for me, that was an old wound in that moment. Like, I've done something wrong. And that's an old childhood wound. And so it was, instantly, I haven't done anything wrong. No one can take this self-love power away. I love you, Jenna. And I can say out loud, all within, milliseconds.
Sure.
And to say, and I love humanity. It's like, that is what the power of the breath has to do. When we move through like this baseline of emotion that we experience through life and the activations and the triggers, you truly get to a core of self-love, of love. Love is, to me, love and self-love could really even be the same thing. We're really a society that's used to giving the love and giving, but not necessarily as used to receiving. And so I really see that that's what the breath has the power to help us do, connect into a vibration that is expansive and pure love. And from there, it's like anything's possible.
Yeah. We're definitely not used to receiving it from ourselves.
Yeah.
We might be used to receiving it from a spouse or a partner or a parent or a sibling or something, but like showering ourselves with it is a very foreign concept to a lot of people still.
Yeah.
But no, that's great. And the breath definitely, speaks to all of that and brings it full circle. And it's really cool how you've been able to, essentially you've reprogrammed yourself. So,
exactly.
Like you said, it happened
that
is like just milliseconds where you've gone through something that might have taken you hours or months, or I don't know how long it took you on that journey, but it might've taken a while, but now it's like instantaneous almost.
Exactly.
Is amazing.
It is amazing, right? Mm-hmm. It's like everyone has the power to do that. I think that's important too, because we do then tend to we hear these stories on podcasts or on, whatever in books. And it's like, they're the special unicorn. And it's like, nah, like we aren't the special unicorns. Like we continue to do the work on ourselves in order to create the change. And that is what I really like. It's so important to me that individuals feel empowered to expand into their own power. Like anyone gets to do this and gets to lean in the breath or tapping and use these healing modalities to truly help yourself feel more you. That to me is like, right? Why not? Let's go.
Or I think sometimes people just think it's so basic that how could it actually work that well? It's not some, pill that you have to pay a lot of money for, or some procedure or some, the whole rigmarole that people are so used to these days. And to just be able to say, hey, like you can get through that with some breath work or some tapping or whatever. And you'd be amazed that the results might even be better they would be, then most of the things that are out there is like, people are like, well, really? Like, how can it possibly be that easy that it's like literally like at my fingertips and, in something I'm already doing 24/7 that I just need to do better.
100%. You'll love this then. I had a friend of mine who I remember when he found out, he actually used to be my boss. I used to be in the marketing world over a decade ago. And he used to be my boss. And then he was my encouragement to leave, to go do what he knew I wanted to do, which was run my practice. And he finally found out. He was like, wait a second, you teach people how to breathe and they pay you for that? And I was like, yeah. He was like, that's cool. Like, it is cool because, I love that you bring it up. Like, it is cool. But for me, the real reason why it's cool is to hear the person that comes up to me at the end of a session and says, that was like 20 years of talk therapy in 1 hour. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I know. I've experienced that too. That's why I'm teaching this to you. This is why I do what I do. That to me is why it's really cool, because it is right here. It's ours.
It's always kind of fun to work with skeptics.
Oh yeah. That's also so fun. A little challenge.
Yeah. But no, that's great.
Yeah. If you think I didn't try to encourage that boss, I still do. I sent him a text the other day. Hey, you going to come to breathwork class? I got one online coming up for you. You can join me.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just get everybody to do the thing?
Yes, ma'am. Were you in my therapy session this morning? Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess part of the thing I also love about these kind of modalities is that, like my favorite line in Hamilton about, I am the one thing in life I can control. I am inimitable. I am an original. Like, that's, I don't know, that's like life to me. And it's like, we can only control the things that we can control. So if we're it, then we better get really good at managing our emotions and our health and all of our stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And if we didn't, one of the biggest things I think we learned over the last 2 years was that we really and we don't have any control, right? It was like any control we thought we had went right out the window. As a reminder, like, actually we really need systems and structures to be scrapped and starting over, to be rebuilt. Like, this is not working. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that element of control is a really important reminder, because it's like, it's really, we are the only ones that can change. Like, we can't change anybody or anything outside of ourselves. But when we are the change, when we create the change, when we act as change, like, that is how we create that ripple. I mean, that's what that ripple effect of healing becomes, and people start to get drawn to, because you are creating a change within the whole system. Right. By becoming what you so desire. And so it's like, someone says something about like, it isn't self-help work, and this work that you do, it's like a luxury, it's luxurious. And I thought, I mean, maybe to some, I understand that there's a
Nobody
point
can see
to be
the face
made.
I'm making if they're listening to the podcast, but I'm making a face.
Well, because you're like, but also for me, I would always come back to you, but also your breath is free. And if you come to one thing, I'll teach you the one thing that you need, and you can have it as yours, and then reach out with questions and just keep going. Because also, can we really afford to not work on ourselves? I just think we're beyond that as a society now. So it's just time. If we're not working on ourselves, it's like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, and it is also just, it's time in general. Like, the fact that, I mean, it doesn't matter whether you don't have any money to spend on your self-care, or you have, more money than you know what to do with. None of us have more time than we know what to do with. So, like, I don't know about you, but I would rather not sit in like a day's worth of counseling sessions to work through my crap. I'd rather like get it done fast and get on with enjoying my life and, doing the things I really feel like doing. And,
totally.
Tools like this not only are like at our fingertips and free, they're also super effective. So.
Yeah. Let's actually say that for a second. I think you bring up a great point, Theresa, because it's like, I think too, to this point, we're not knocking counseling and therapies. Like, I really have a therapist I worked with this morning, right? Like, it's that we're saying it's these things together, that like, that's really why I loved connecting with you. It's like, it's tapping and breath work together. It's therapy on another day.
But would you say, like, if you were in your counseling session this morning, were you finding yourself combining that talk therapy with your breathing techniques?
I laid down and breathed right after. Right after.
I mean,
and here,
yeah, because you knew it was going to elevate it and make it
yeah.
more efficient and make it more effective. And
100%.
I do the same thing. Like if I'm on a rant or whatever, I'll find myself, just kind of like, if I'm just going to be like sitting here talking to you about something, I'm going to be making sure I'm
100%
clearing those energy blockages while I'm doing
it. And my
fun.
therapist that I found, she is like, I was very specific about it. I wanted a Jungian analyst to be my therapist. Like I knew what theories I was looking for that I believe that support, because we talk about this, we know mental health is important. We uncovered that over this last couple of years as well, but also just the modalities with which we have to support the mental health. And it's the somatic healing part that I don't really see getting, it gets recognition somewhat, but that I see could just be even more effective if it was, supported by insurance companies, if it was supported by employers. Like, that's why I love when companies hire me, because it's like, you care about supporting a different element of your people's mental health, which is more important than just the added insurance where they have to then go out and find the therapist. Like, bring someone in, let these people support you. But 100%, we need it all.
Yeah. Yeah. I came to that conclusion on my own before I discovered tapping and other modalities that I like. I had a few young kids at home, and I was feeling that uncontrollable chaos of trying to, start a business and raise my kids and everything. Like, it felt like my values and everything were just out of line. And I knew I really wanted some therapy or a good life coach or whatever, but you know what I didn't have time to do? Find the right one. That in and of itself was like a research project that I didn't have time for. So it's like, I just never got started on that path. So when I started learning things that I could implement on my own in the little cracks of my day and stuff, which, time is just, it's so valuable. So
great point.
I get that. Would you like to walk us through your favorite breathing technique that you talked about at the beginning?
Yes, I would love to. I would love to. And I if we have time, can I actually speak to both of them?
Sure. We got
what
time.
Do you think? Okay. I think it would be helpful to hear the two types, I should say, because they really are used for two very different reasons. And in a world where we are running rampant with anxieties, I would like to speak to the one that could be really supportive and pulling people out of anxiety. And then we'll just do a minute, maybe 2 minutes worth of the one that I use in my active sessions. The practice that speaks to anxiety to me is so powerful, because sometimes when you get pulled into anxiety, or as anybody who has ever had anxiety knows, you can't see through it always. So you might have the tools and know, you're like, I know how I could pull myself out of this, but it's like you start to get clouded and sort of spin. And so to me, the breath is this, it's right there. Like, you're already breathing. You just have to manipulate it. You can just work to change it a little bit in order to help you work through the bigness of the anxious emotion that's showing up.
Yeah.
So it's just a 4-7-8 breathing technique. You breathe in for 4 breaths, you breathe and hold that breath for 7 breaths, and then you exhale for 8. So it's a count, like you'd start counting. If you have someone guiding you through it, like I'll do it here, and we'll just do 3 breaths here with this. I have someone guiding you here. This is great, but you count it in your own head and you start to kind of find a rhythm, and you'll know how long you need to do it for. Usually personally, this is very different for everyone. For me personally, I'd say when I'm needing it, about 4 to 5 rounds of it seems to be supportive for me. If a client is really coming in with some heaviness and some bigness in that way, I'd say it depends. If it's really big, I'll probably up it to 6 rounds. But I really don't find that that it's needed more than 4 to 5.
Okay.
So what can take you through it? You can keep your eyes open or closed, whichever feels good or right to you. And I'm just going to count you in, and you'll kind of start to find a rhythm. So pay attention just for a moment, just to play with this. We'll just pay attention for a moment to any place in your body that's feeling tension or that's feeling anxious, or any place in your body that could use a little bit more space right now. And so just let that space be brought right there to the forefront of your mind. Let that space.
My body is just getting like so excited to breathe that I just want to yawn.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. That's also very common. I do witness that a lot. So good. So way to acknowledge that. And why don't you just tell us, Theresa, where in your body would you say there might be any tension, any tightness, any speaking from your body?
Well, I definitely haven't taken the deep breaths that I would normally take today. It's been a very go, go, go day. So I feel a little tight in my chest
Okay.
and a little tight kind of in my head, like my temple area.
Okay, great. So why don't you go ahead for this one, even though it's Theresa's podcast, why don't you just close your eyes, Theresa? You can sit back and enjoy. Right. And everyone else, wherever you are, if you're driving, don't close your eyes. But you can do this practice just a few rounds while driving. So go ahead and inhale to the count of my sounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale. I'm still counting. Hold. Good. And exhale.
Does it matter whether the exhale is through my mouth or my nose?
Nope, doesn't matter at all. One more round. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Good. So you can open your eyes, Theresa. Describe what you're feeling in your chest, if anything.
Off. How awful is that?
Oh, that's okay. Human life.
Everything else, and then my phone is, it's real life.
Real life. How does your heart feel? How does your chest area feel?
Oh, I definitely.
What do you notice?
I feel more relaxed and open for sure. Definitely have been insufficient on the breathing today.
So what's important to notice with this practice is specifically you can ask your body like, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how heavy in my chest does it feel? And then at the end, you can ask it again just to kind of compare, but it doesn't matter as much as it does that what is happening is you're pulling your awareness from the anxiety spiral into counting and focused attention on your breath. And that can often just pull you right out of the spiral. So at least, your stadium seating example, you can kind of step back and look at the stadium ceiling and you don't feel so consumed by it. Right.
And that brings the meditation element into it, I suppose, as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Putting our mind on the counting and the breath and everything else. Yeah. Is that typically kind of the way that you work meditation into things?
Yes, my meditation practices are it really depends. It's really dependent on what the client needs. I often find that when I compare it beautifully, seamlessly in with the breath practices, is how I would prefer it. So I just like to teach the way that I have fun teaching it. Yeah. But I also I'm a teacher of a shamatha vipassana practice, which is a very specific practice in the Buddhist lineage that is all about an awareness of the breath, of your body feeling. And with that specific awareness, it actually really requires its own container. So I will then make it depending on what techniques I'm feeling from the client. Let's say they come in really ungrounded and scattered and anxious. I might start with that breathing technique and then lead them into opening their eyes into an open-eyed awareness meditation that just creates this container for specific attention, settling on into your body. And then when I pull them back up, how are you will be the question that I'm asking. How are you feeling? They can usually answer a little bit more because they're more attuned to their body. So it's dependent on, how the client and where the client's showing up, but seamlessly merged right on in or within its own container can both be really powerful.
Absolutely. I'm a huge fan of meditation. That's something that's been a daily part of my life for a bunch of years now. It's one of the
good
yesterday, but it's
good
in a good 6 or 7 years now.
That's amazing.
Crazy how that adds up, isn't it?
It is
daily practice.
But how cool is that? Like now you can say that and you can feel the difference in your body, right?
Absolutely. So what was the other breath that you wanted to show us?
Yes. Okay. So this one's going to be a little different. I'm going to kind of give some caveats to this one. This one is the minimum amount of time I recommend doing this practice for is going to be 10 minutes. And that's, like I said, minimum. I don't recommend doing this while driving your car. I don't recommend doing this while operating heavy machinery. This is it can be very visual. It can be very auditory. It also can be very out of body for some people. It really varies per person. So I don't want this to also deter you if you're like, that feels scary or uncomfortable. That might not happen for you. It's really completely different per individual. The thing that feels important to claim with this practice is the reason we like to say 10 minutes is a minimum is because it really does take you 6 to 7 minutes to get out of your mind and into your body, 6 to 7 minutes to leave the thing that you were already doing before lying down here, right? In order to arrive into that heart space and get to that pure love that moved through your emotions experience. Now, if you're someone who's really intuitive, if you're someone who's feels deeply connected psychically to other realms, if you're someone that's deeply empathic, you might start to feel it within the first 30 seconds. It's just completely different per person. So that's usually why I give a caveat. We'll do just a minute, I think maybe 2. We'll see how it feels here and let our bodies just kind of activate some of the energy within it. And then we'll release some of that. And then we'll go into a resting stage. So Theresa, you're going to be guided. So here's what I mean by that. Okay, good.
If I leave my body, you're gonna have to bring me on back so I can close this podcast.
I'll bring you all the way back. And truly, to anyone who's here listening, pause or just listen to us while, if you're driving, just listen and come on back and play with this technique. Yeah. This breathwork technique is aimed at moving energy in the body. So what does that really mean? That means that it is aimed at activating some of the things that you're holding in your body, some of your emotions, some of the stagnant experiences, some past life experiences. It can activate all the different things that your body is holding. So we really can have a lot of things show up for it, right? So normally I like to tell people we lie down completely flat for just 2 minutes. Sitting in chairs are perfect and no problem. If you are sitting in a chair, I would just suggest that you let yourself completely relax and rest in that chair, surrender to the chair. Let it hold you up, let yourself relax. You don't have to hold anything up for right now. So let's just pay attention. You said chest earlier, Theresa. What was the other part? You said a little bit in your head.
Yeah. Oh, there's that yawn.
Yeah. Perfect. A little bit in your temples, it sounded like.
Yeah.
Okay. What would you describe the sensation in your temples?
It's almost like that, a pre-headache tension. I don't have a headache, but it feels like it could happen.
Okay. Great point. So go ahead and close your eyes. And anyone else that's listening here, go ahead and close your eyes. I'm going to just share here. Okay. So go ahead and close your eyes and just take some deeper breaths in through the nose, out the mouth. And as you're just breathing this way, I'm going to explain this technique. It's that 2-step breathing technique. You're actually going to breathe deep into the belly for 1 breath through an open mouth. And then you're going to breathe into that heart for your second breath through that open mouth. So you're going to take 2 breaths in through an open mouth, 1 exhale through an open mouth, and repeat. And I'll count us in. You're going to start in 3, 2, 1. Belly breath, heart breath. Exhale, belly breath, heart breath, exhale. Good. Just like that. Keep going. Beautiful. So staying like that as you're hearing me talk to you, you're just going to keep breathing this way. And it's just those 2 inhales before you exhale. And as you're breathing in this way, give your mind permission to let go. Give your mind permission to leave behind any place that it's already been before this, and to simply become present to what your body feels. Keep breathing.
Cough.
That's perfect. That's completely normal.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and get right back in when you're ready, Theresa. And I'll speak to that a little bit. Yeah. Your body is not often used to breathing this way. Your body is often not used to allowing so much breath to move through you. So if you need to shorten the breaths, make them a little softer, smaller, go ahead. But often coming right up through that throat is a very common way for the body to release some of that energy and tension. So you're doing great. Keep breathing. Good. And so just really allowing yourself to feel the breath moving through your body, feel the breath as though it was an excavator, as though it was going on in there and starting to allow your body to scrape up anything that you're ready to let go of, scraping up anything from the heart you're ready to let go of, and then releasing it on each exhale. You're doing
It's almost
great.
like an elevator, like because I'm belly, heart.
Good. Good. Perfect. And you're just going to do this for another few seconds here, staying with it, just noticing if your body's feeling any tingling sensations. And on the next exhale, you can just go ahead and let it be auditory. Go ahead and perfect. And just let yourself relax. Yeah. So just rest here for a moment. Give yourself 30 seconds of resting.
Yeah, definitely.
And just really
like
resting.
Dizzy and lightheaded and
totally normal. Surrender into that. And you can even let yourself feel gratitude, saying to the body, thanks, body, for showing me all the energy that I'm holding, for showing me some of my lightheadedness, for showing me some of the tingling, the energy that my body can activate. And you can just give a gratitude, let gratitude wash through you as a thank you to your body for being willing to participate in this.
If I were laying down, would it matter if my legs were crossed or straight or anything like that?
Great question. No and yes. No. Well, so let's pause on that answer. Before we answer that, anyone who's been following along here with us, if you need a few extra moments in that peaceful state, if you need a few extra moments just resting, feel free to go ahead and do that here. This is the place that I would likely be playing some really soft music, and I would just be silent on my end for a handful of minutes, just really letting you surrender into what it is that you are feeling. So go ahead and take your time in that space. And when you're ready, wiggle fingers and toes and stretch and just start to open your eyes and come back to this space, this room, this moment, anything you left behind. And just notice if your body feels any different. And if it doesn't, that's okay. You are always still moving energy with the breath. It is always excavating for you. And we can trust in that. It's something, no matter what the conscious eye can see or body can feel, is happening. And you can trust that. And Theresa, let's just ask you, how is your temples? How are that place in your body feeling?
It's definitely less tight.
Oh, great.
And more relaxed. I almost feel like it shifted a little bit, like it moved more like inward, but I find energy moves around like that. So
yes,
and we didn't take it. We usually kind of chase energy until it kind of releases all the way. And obviously we don't have the time to do that, but it definitely moved. So that's a good thing. So I feel like that means it's on its way out.
Yes.
And
yes,
I can facilitate that.
Awesome.
But,
awesome.
Yeah. I will definitely also put some minutes on the show notes so that people know where they can go to in this episode if they want to revisit that practice and just come back to that when they have a time to maybe put on that nice music for themselves or really lay down and get comfortable and try it out.
Sure.
Awesome. And then as far as the legs being crossed or not, what would you say about that?
Yes. So to come back to that, it really depends on the individual. So I'll share with you that, I'll teach groups anywhere from, 10 to 100 plus. I've done, probably the most I did was a group of 1,000. And so in a large scale group, I'm not going to go around and do this. In a small scale group, If we're in person, I can go around and work with the individual's energy and feeling into what they're holding. Sometimes what happens to the body is we cross the legs and we cross the arms as a way to protect the body from experiencing something we think it doesn't want to experience or we're uncomfortable experiencing. So oftentimes I'll uncross if I'm feeling that energy from people. I'll suggest that you uncross the arms and legs and you let yourself lay there and surrender. And at the very least, to start, I will suggest that you uncross both arms and legs. And if they become crossed at any one point, depending on where someone is in the process, it's also okay. Sometimes that depending on where someone is going on this journey within themselves, like that might be what they need to feel safe and comforted. And so it's not going to be something I'm going to always go around and, uncross. It's something energetically I'd feel. But as you lay down to start,
it's a cue for you. It's a tell, something that you can work with later if you're noticing it also. I was just curious because I know that, the way energy flows through our bodies and also with things like hypnosis or anything else where you're reprogramming or whatever, it's always suggested to kind of like get your arms and legs not touching each other and that kind of stuff so that you can really receive that. And I didn't know if breath work was similar in that way.
It's definitely similar in that our bodies are circles. So we got energy moving up one arm and down through the next and doing the same thing with the legs. So it is definitely that experience in that if we're wanting to really allow your full body to receive and move what it needs to move, then absolutely. And I just think it's important too, that we honor that every person's body type, not just from physical comfort or ability, but also in terms of safety and emotional support, whatever they need they might need to cross their arms or legs in order to feel safe and going there. And it's not going to like prohibit, or limit their experience, if you will. It'll be a little different.
And maybe as they work through it, they'll get more comfortable opening up.
Totally.
Oh, that's awesome. And those were great techniques. I really enjoyed getting a minute to relax and
good.
That felt really good for my day.
Good.
I hope that you have some time in your day to also enjoy your own practice.
Always.
That is amazing. I really appreciate you being so incredibly generous with your time and your knowledge today. It was such a great time talking and reconnecting on this. And if people want to, learn more about what it is that you do or experience what it's like to work with you, where should they go?
So where to go would there's two places. My website is always a great spot, jennareiss.com, REISS, Jenna with 2 N's. That's my website. And I have things listed on there. I'm pretty active on Instagram. I'm not always fast at responding on Instagram. So I'd say like email questions are probably best to my email, but my Instagram is always a great place as well. I just like to post about all the healing experiences that I'm going through and what I see clients going through and the lessons along the way. So that's also a great spot. And that's my name, Jenna, and then the letter M in between Reiss. So Jenna M Reiss. And I mean, anyone is welcome to I have tons of different ways I'd say that people can work with the breath, from downloading a recording. That's an audio of my voice. So you can start on your own to, diving in with a private session or group work. Group work is something I really like to tell people. It's a great way to just step in because it's, usually like $30 to $45. You can join a virtual experience or in person, depending on where you are. And I do actually have an upcoming group on September 14th, I believe. I don't know when this is going live, but that group is a great way to just like step in, like test the water, see how it feels, what you're interested in, diving a little deeper. The workshops are significantly longer than our 4 minutes, here of breathing. So Get ready,
Awesome.
Dedicate your time.
I will be sure to put those links in the show notes also so that they are easily clickable for our listeners. And it seems like you do a lot of different workshops and things. I always see you posting about them. So if for some reason you're listening to the show after September 14th, then definitely just, check out Jenna's website. And I'm sure she'll have updates on there of all the wonderful things that she is up to. But thanks again. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And for those of you listening, I hope you found time to take a breath for yourself and take a minute out of your day to learn a new practice that's going to enhance your life, your productivity, your healing, your self-love, all the good things. You're worth that time and that effort and that investment. So
absolutely.
Thanks again, Jenna. And thanks to my listeners. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening. If you loved this episode, please share it with a friend or post on social media and tag me so I can personally connect and thank you. Until next time, Keep taking bold and brave action steps towards becoming more of who you want to be in this world. You are capable, you are worthy, and you are enough. Keep shining your light.